Those of you from the 80s and 90s, you recognize that music, and even some of you that are in the 2000s watching Netflix and hearing about the great show The X-Files. And this feels like an X-Files episode continuing. We have just some amazing things happening. First of all, by now, most of you have already looked up to Venus and see that is definitely abnormal. And the light surrounding it, and if you get a zoom lens on it, you're going to see greenish bluish. I don't know if it's a planet approaching. I don't know if it's a planet with or just a spacecraft. I'm not sure what it is at this point, but it really looks like a small or a fuzzy Earth. It's a bluish greenish ball with light around it. So it definitely looks like a ball of energy, which is a ball of plasma basically, and it's rapidly approaching Earth. You can see Venus, what looks like Venus, every night getting bigger and bigger. And there's a couple of YouTubers out there that have been doing just amazing work in capturing it. Some that I really want to mention, who've done great work, is Brandon Veach. Brandon, I hope I have your name right. Link to his many recordings of what appears to be Venus getting closer and closer, a white light getting closer and closer. And also another great YouTuber who's been doing wonderful work is a YouTuber called Mars Dust, but he goes by Near Earth Objects now because he feels like this thing that he's been recording for over a week now with a telephoto lens, not a telescope, but a telephoto lens, and just amazing detailed recordings of the blue and green light that we're talking about. I'll leave a link to his website below, not his website, but his YouTube site. Both Kenneth and Mars Dust, both their YouTube pages, their creators, and I'll leave links to their work down below. So we've had a look at the red star and the blue star, which are part of the Hopi prophecy, the Hopi tradition of the end times. And they have been saying for quite a while as a nation that we are in the end of the fourth age, and they give their examples, and they are excellent examples to give. The Muslim tradition is also indicating that we are in the end times, and just other traditions. The synchronicity of religions is actually quite beautiful to see. There are a couple of exaggerated traditions that are going to say it's going to be destruction of the earth, and as I said in my last video, and I feel very strongly about it, the Creator loves His creation. He knows us very well, and I think He's quite pleased with how we actually ended up. So I think we are in good shape. As for what is going to be happening, it is fascinating. I don't know what is approaching from Venus, but it is very white, bright light. So with my Hopi brethren who've been working with me and who have been contributing to this YouTube page, who are working with the Breadcrumbs Project, I think what is approaching from Venus is the white brother coming back, because it is rapidly approaching. We have three. We have the blue star, which is Atlas, and we have the red star, which there's a very good argument right now that it could actually have been Swan, what we were seeing, because there's been some movement of locations. But I was thinking it was Catalina by the measurements I was getting, but the red star could actually be Swan. We haven't gotten a good picture of it. But something is going to happen very interesting with both comets Atlas and Swan. And there's going to be they're going to meet in space in our solar system. So there's going to be a tremendous happening with those two amazing entities, because they are two amazing entities, because they are interstellar visitors. It's hard to believe, but both Comet Atlas and Comet Swan are interstellar visitors. That means that they're not from our galactic plane. They're coming from outside, and what we're seeing is they do have elliptical orbits. So both these guys, it's not their first visits, and highly unlikely they're comets. They're actually planets. So it is a very interesting time. I want you to take a look at this. Take a look at this 3D setup that I've done for where, and I've not done it. I'm sorry. This is from the website thelivesky.com, and look at what happens on May 23rd, and look at where Venus and the Earth are in relationship to each other. So right now, sunrise to sunset, Venus has the sun backing it. So whatever is coming, the white brother that is coming from Venus, that when we look at with our naked eyes right now, even those of you who doubt, look at it the naked eye, you see it much bigger, much brighter. And then when you look at it through a binoculars, and you actually see the energy ball that is surrounding it, the plasma ball. And those of you that have telescopes, you can't barely look at it because it's just too bright. So the only people that can really capture it very well are people with cameras with good to pretty good telephoto lens. They can capture some brilliant, brilliant, shockingly good images. So whatever's coming from Venus right now is in what you're about to see. When you pay close attention, Earth and Venus are in a position where the sun is behind Venus the whole time that we are in this April, May, June time period. But look what happens May 23rd. Look what happens. It is incredible. Again, NASA has been absolutely quiet on this. If this was not a planned event, then NASA would be having hysterics and kittens and heart palpitations because of this kind of event. But this, I think, is a very, very special event. And I think it's special for us. All right, roll tape. All right, as you can see, we have Comet Atlas and Comet Swan here on the skylive.com tracker software. So this is a tracking software that's freely available, and it has the orbits of all of your major bodies, near Earth objects, asteroids, comets, what have you. So I have the paths of Atlas and Swan right now. February 11th is the date that I currently have where we're starting from. And as I zoom in on Swan, look at that. They have the orbit tracked, but the planet is actually off of the orbit, or the comet is off of the orbit. But as you can see here, C29 Atlas is perfectly in center. So this is just very interesting, and I'm going to say sketchy, because NASA has been tight with the information. All right, so I'm starting February 11th, and going to be moving pretty quickly, but every second is every 2 days. So as we start, we see where Comet Atlas is right here, and it's coming around towards a path towards the sun. And let's zoom in and see what's happening. look at Venus right here. And Atlas is where we can see it in the northern hemisphere, and beautifully because it's orbit with the sun. And on the southern hemisphere, here comes Comet Swan. So the northern hemisphere is the blue Kashina, and the southern hemisphere is the red Kashina, Comet Swan. And then look at where Venus is. And I'm going to stop the recording of the movement of the sun, of the planets and the comets. So you can take a very close look at where Venus is. So now the sun is in the background of Venus. So Venus is in between the sun and the earth. And this is where the white brother is coming onto the planet. So the white brother has already come in. At what point? I don't know. But it is using Venus as its background to do a surprise entry upon the planet. So anybody that looks at Venus tonight is going to see it's a lot brighter with the naked eye. And if it's a very clear night, you're going to see some fuzziness and some maybe even discharges from Venus. Iridescent is a word a lot of people have used that have been looking at it and say it's been brighter. There have been several YouTubers that have done some great work. One of them is Mars Dust. If you look him up, he's a YouTuber called Mars Dust, and he also goes by the name now Near Earth Objects, because he has been recording what's been coming from Venus, and he feels clearly, like I do, that this is part of Nibiru. I don't know if it's the actual planet Nibiru. I kind of think that Atlas is, but you know, there's just a lot of moving parts and pieces right now, and I'm just working off of the information, parts and pieces of information that I'm getting from the web. So here we go with Near Earth Objects, who's been doing great work, and you can check out his site here on YouTube. I'll leave a link below in the notes section. And then here is Brandon Veach, who has also done some great work on tracking this bright object that was Venus a while back, and Venus is still there, but the white brother, as the Hopi tribe tradition refers to what's about to happen, the white brother is coming back to visit. Well, it's using Venus as its backdrop, but now it's coming on strong. And so if you look at Venus, it's super bright. If you look at it using binoculars, it's going to blow your mind. And if you use a good camera with a very good telescope lens, it's going to doubly blow your mind, because you're going to see a blue and greenish ball, a fuzzy looking Earth. So this is extremely interesting what's happening with Venus. So here we go, where we see Venus in the backdrop. We are in May right now, and so supposedly we have Atlas up here, who's on his way out. He's reached the perihelion in a couple of days here, and then we have the intersection of Comet Swan, who is also an interstellar visitor. So Comet Swan is now come from the southern hemisphere, is crossed the galactic plane, and is coming into the northern hemisphere. And this is going to be very impressive for us to see both the southern and northern hemisphere. And now, as the Hopi tradition dictates, the blue and the red star are going to meet, and it's going to be a great occasion. So here, as we watch it happen around May, here, May, June is when they come into close contact with each other. So I'm going to back it up a little bit. And I'm saying around June 23rd is when they come in close contact. I think Comet Atlas, which I think is Nibiru, we saw a split, and it wasn't an actual split, it was a craft that was launched, and I think it's going to rendezvous with Swan, and I think there's going to be a great reunion. And then the White Brother is coming to planet Earth, and it is going to, as you can see here, Venus is still using the sun as a backdrop. It's going to come upon us very strong by then, and we're going to have an EMP, an electromagnetic pulse. This is incredibly important. Here, I'm going to bring up the executive order talking about the EMP. So, why I've said I feel very strongly that the government is in contact with the with Star Atlas and Comet Atlas or Planet Nibiru, and also Comet Swan, or now planet number 10, planet 10. All right, we have a 10th planet now. And they've been in contact, and they've been coordinating with our governments, and so our government knows that there's a big EMP coming. Why do I keep saying an EMP, and why do I say it's not a big deal to humans? EMPs happen whenever a huge, giant electrical event happens, and the times that we see an EMP occur is whenever a nuclear bomb goes off. Well, if a nuclear bomb goes off in your vicinity, the last thing you're really worried about is an electromagnetic pulse, because everything within miles has been destroyed. But what we experience, aside from the bomb, is a big electromagnetic pulse that much of the electrical devices around the area are greatly affected, if not their inner circuits are destroyed if they're running because of the pulse. If they're not running, they might not get destroyed. It depends on the intensity. School's out. But you can protect your devices from an electromagnetic pulse by building a Faraday cage around it, which is you can use aluminum foil. Instead of making a hat, you put the aluminum foil around a cardboard box, which is a good insulator. And if you can do a couple to three of them with the electronic devices you want to save from the pulse, they might be able to survive the pulse, because after the pulse, we're going to rebuild society in a peaceful and in a very new and as the Hopi say, a new brotherly way. And that is also what every great religious tradition says, that after the end times, which we're about to experience in May, there's going to be a great renewal. First of all the dead will come back. That's going to be pretty intense. And then second of all, we're going to rebuild the world in such a magnificent way that we can't even imagine. But that's been the promise of every great religion, as that after the end times there's going to be a great renewal. And so there's a lot of commenters, and one that to me is charming. Quit talking about all that God stuff. What you been talking about God for? Quit talking about that. Brother, God's coming. It's happening. Look at Venus. You can't deny it now. And an executive order was given out by the Trump administration on March 26, 2019 to coordinate resilience of electromagnetic pulses. So I'm a network engineer, and I've worked in some government institutions and places where we have some certain equipment protected from electromagnetic pulse. But it's stuff that's far away from a nuclear event and really hasn't been taken very seriously. But in 2019, the administration got very serious about it. And so everything that is of government and maintaining government continuity is either currently in an electromagnetic pulse resistant area or has been moved to. So this is very interesting. I will leave a link to the White House and this order as well in the comments section. So it's all coming together, and especially this part with with these two great comets, these two great planets meeting in our solar system. This is incredible. That's all I have for now. Pretty exciting stuff. Peace.